everybody. It's Kelly Russell, the Rock Your Joy Coach. Thank you so much for being with me today. Welcome to my channel. So, my topic for this week is based on lesson 19 of the workbook of A Course in Miracles, which is I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts. And what that basically means is that all minds are joined, which makes perfect sense if we think about the fact that we are the one Son of God. We are not separate from one another, not in reality with a capital R. We just appear to be separate here in our perception of the world. And why is that? That's because we want to appear to be separate. We don't want to be joined with our brothers. We want to be able to be our own unique individual, selves. And the problem with that is that it's a barrier, right? And it keeps us isolated from each other, and it keeps us from remembering the truth of ourselves because we aren't remembering the truth of our brothers. And we need to be able to see the light and the love and the wholeness and the perfection in our brothers in order for us to be able to see it in ourselves. And so the truth is that all minds are joined because God had one Son. So, and the one Son was not this guy over here, Jesus. The one Son was all of us, including Jesus and you and me and everyone. And it's referred to in the Course in Miracles as the sonship. So as one extension of the love of God. And we are it, which means since we are created in the mind of God, we are an extension of that one mind. So all minds are joined as one. So then what does this lead to? This leads to that really kind of freakish and scary sometimes idea in the Course, scary to the ego anyway, idea that all minds, there are no private thoughts because all minds are joined. No private thoughts. So not one thought that you have is private and kept inside your bubble, as we say. And that is, as A Course in Miracles says, that makes us really nervous and really anxious. And so in this lesson in paragraph 2, it says, we are again emphasizing the fact that minds are joined. This is rarely a wholly welcome idea at first, since it seems to carry with it an enormous sense of responsibility, and may even be regarded as an invasion of privacy. Yet it is a fact that there are no private thoughts. Despite your initial resistance to this idea, you will yet understand that it must be true if salvation is possible at all. And salvation must be possible because it is the will of God. So I notice in the people that I talk to about this that there are some different reactions. One is that sort of like, oh no, WTF, oh my God, there's no private thoughts. So what do you mean? Like people can hear me when I'm thinking like trash thoughts about them, or I'm, harboring criticism and judgment in my mind and thinking what an a-hole they are and, all of that. Yes, the answer to that is yes. And because we may not have our minds open to the point where we can specifically read the thought as if we are psychic and we have that psychic gift and we know exactly the words someone is using, that may not be the case. But the thought energy, the feeling behind it, that travels. That's not trapped in your bubble. We would love to think that it is. We would love to think that as long as something doesn't come out our mouth, then it doesn't matter what we're thinking. And no one can feel it. No one can react to it. And we don't have to take responsibility for it. And you know what? That's bullshit. And as long as we're operating under that false belief, we are going to sabotage our relationships, and we're not gonna be able to have the love that we so want and we're sort of like, why am I not happy? Why are my relationships conflicted? Why am I, having such a rough time? Why does it seem like, people are moody around me, or someone's irritated or annoyed with me? I didn't do anything. I didn't say anything. Look at what your thoughts are, and just observe the thoughts that you are thinking. If somebody is behaving towards you in a way that doesn't feel good to you, don't look at what they're doing, what they're saying, or react to it, or being like, you can't treat me like that, and I'm not your doormat, and I'm not going to stand for this, and all of that, going into attack mode and being in your own victimhood. But instead, look at what your thoughts toward them are and have been, because whatever they're doing, however they're treating you, whatever they're saying, whatever the energy is that is coming back to you, is coming directly from your own mind, that you're projecting outward whatever it is that's being mirrored back. And a lot of people don't want to hear this. They don't want to take responsibility for what their thoughts are. I've heard people say, oh, you're just blaming the victim. Okay, so no one's a victim. So I'm not blaming anyone, because there are no victims. There are taking responsibility and ownership for the thoughts that you're harboring, or not doing so, and abdicating that responsibility and just saying, well, the world is just, I'm a victim of the world, and the world is just being mean to me, and people are just treating me for some way that I don't like, and it's for no reason, and I don't have anything to do with it, and it's not my fault, and I'm not to blame. And I'm not here to say that you're to blame or at fault, because blaming and faulting, whether it's at yourself or to someone else, is just two sides of the same coin. But I am calling you to understand this. As a Course in Miracles student, or someone who's miracle curious and interested in what this thought system says, that is exactly what it says, is that we are responsible for what shows up in our lives, because we are responsible for what we think, and what we think creates what shows up in our lives. It's just as simple as that. And so what do we do about it? Well, so what we do about it, first of all, is we acknowledge that we don't have any private thoughts. And so we really start to be conscious of our thoughts, and to be vigilant about what are we harboring in our minds. And, are we having those kinds of attack thoughts? When I notice that somebody's behaving a certain way toward me, and I examine my thoughts of what I've been thinking toward them lately, and really even what I've been thinking toward anyone, because it doesn't have to be a direct, I can think attack thoughts about this other person over here, but then, I'm not thinking them about you, but you might still be the one that's reflecting those attack thoughts back to me, because again, all minds are joined. So that reflection could come from anywhere. So we don't get to just be like, well, I'm going to be loving toward, most people in my life, but I'm still going to have all these grievances and unforgiveness toward these other special people over here, like, my parents who didn't treat me right, or, were unkind to me, were abusive toward me, or whatever it is. And it's not about what someone's done in the world. There's nothing, the Course in Miracles teaches that there is no world, that we're making this whole thing up in our minds, which means we're making up everything that everybody has ever done or ever said, and we cling to it. We want to hold on to it. It's why we find forgiveness so hard to do, because we want other people to be guilty. And why is that? It's because if they're not guilty, then I must be. It's this egoic, either or, black and white thinking, that somebody has to be guilty, somebody has to be to blame, somebody has to be at fault, and so if it's not you, then it's me, and it's sure as hell not going to be me, so then guess what, it's going to be you. And it's none of us. Nobody's guilty, nobody's at fault, nobody's to blame. There's nothing to forgive, except that because we believe deep down that we are guilty, we think we separated from God. We think we did the worst thing ever that we could possibly ever do, and we rejected our Creator. We in a sense, killed him off in our minds. that guilt is eating us up inside. And so for us to be able to practice forgiveness, the course's version of true forgiveness allows us to then, because we are all one mind and all joined as one being, it allows us to forgive ourselves and see ourselves as innocent. Seeing your brother as innocent equals seeing yourself as innocent. And there's no other way to do it. There's no other way to see yourself as innocent and keep your brother in guilt and blame. Sorry, but there just isn't. It don't work like that. So the steps of forgiveness are: I forgive you, or I forgive this situation because I remember there's nothing to forgive. I remember that I'm dreaming an illusion that the ego mind made up, and that the guilt and fear is coming from me. I'm projecting it onto you. I ask Spirit to change my mind and heal my thoughts and perceptions. I forgive myself for dreaming this, and I release it all to be healed. And that's the end of it. And that is the process. And that process is life-changing. It's transformational. And it is the way to peace in your relationships. If you are conflicted in any of your relationships, this is what I do for a living. I teach people to have miraculous relationships by helping them to do that with each other, so that they can also do it with themselves and with God. Those are all interrelated. And that's how you end up having amazing relationships and having the love that you always wanted to have. And it starts with you. It starts with the thoughts in your mind, which are not private. So thank you so much for joining me today. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please do so. Click the subscribe button below. I'm here every week talking about the practical application of the psychology of A Course in Miracles. And if you'd like some additional help and guidance around relationships, if you're having relationship difficulty, you can go to my, there's a link below to a kit that I created. It's called the Homestuck Survival Kit, and it includes 3 tools to help you to regain your sanity in relationships. And I originally created it for people being stuck at home with people during the pandemic, but the tools hold up, and if you use them, they will help you to transform your relationships. So if you find this teaching helpful, please, I invite you to share it, and also to leave me a comment or send me an email, because I love hearing from you and I read everyone. So thanks again for being here, and I'll see you next week. I love you.